Hello friends, you're watching The Third Rail. I'm Sarah here with Nick. We're going to start with what might cause a diplomatic headache with our nearest and dearest ally, the US. Let's show you a clip of Malcolm Turnbull's impersonation of Donald Trump.
That Donald and I, we are winning and winning in the polls. We are winning so much. We are winning like we have never won before.
Well,
pretty shit, really.
Well, I actually thought it was really funny.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Like, what was it? The intonation?
No,
the delivery?
no. I thought the content. I just thought, why would you do that? I mean, you are you're like the Prime Minister of the country, and not just the Prime Minister of the country. You are the leader of the Liberal Party, the party traditionally known for sucking up to the US like there is no tomorrow. So I was just like, oh my God, is this the old Malcolm, the real Malcolm?
Yeah, the real Malcolm's proved quite the elusive beast, I feel, over the years. I wasn't very impressed with that impression.
No.
I thought it was shit.
You could have done a better job.
Definitely could have done a better job. But, you know, it's caused a bit of controversy now because Turnbull thought that he was completely safe at that massive event at which some journalists were present, not including Laurie Oaks. But Big Laurie, every now and again, the man just goes, fuck it. And that's what he did.
I know.
And so he's put this out and, there could be a brouhaha. No tweets from Trump yet.
No,
as
not
far
yet.
As I know.
But I'm sure we'll get one ending with SAD in capital letters, exclamation mark.
Yeah.
That's what he always does.
Sad.
Sad.
It was.
But
It
Laurie,
was sad.
you know, Laurie Oaks, you remember he did that interview of Turnbull in the aftermath of that Trump-Turnbull phone call in which there was a lot of hostility, which was, that's what was reported.
Yeah.
And Laurie Oaks started the interview with Turnbull as, Prime Minister Turnbull, because there was that whole debate about the US not knowing his name. So Laurie, I mean, there's much more to him than meets the eye.
I like it. I don't think he likes Turnbull very much.
No.
But I kind of appreciate his like, fuck you, nothing's off the record attitude. That's, you know.
It's old school journalism.
It
We
kind
need
of
more
is.
of it.
It kind of is. He's done it. He's burned a few people over the years. He burned Joe Hockey a couple of years ago. You know, he opened his interview by saying, I just saw you dancing in your office. What are you so happy about? And like, the guy was flummoxed. On the one hand, what do you think? I mean, is that cool or not? Like,
What, doing this impersonation?
No.
No,
For
for a journalist like that to be...
blowing it up. Because when Turnbull came out later, you know, he said, it was affectionately light-hearted and the butt of my jokes was myself, which aren't really words befitting a supposedly eloquent
but
man.
they weren't, because it's quite clear when you listen to it that they weren't. But no, look, I don't know. I have to say I was a bit surprised that the audio leaked, because obviously now that means that politicians can't be themselves, if that is really who he was being himself, trying to be funny and entertaining. And I think that's not a good thing.
You know what, like they are going to come to you and try and claim that they're being themselves, no matter, you know, whether they're Jekyll or Hyde on any given day. And yeah, I'm not sure. I'm stoked that that came out because I think it's an awesome story. It's gone around the world already, like BBC, the Daily Mail in the UK, like everybody is just like, yes, thanks Laurie. And we'll see what comes of it.
Well, what's interesting about it is that, you know, especially his reference to that Russian guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the current context, talk about bad timing. Because in the last day or so, the special, what is he called? Special counsel, Robert Mueller, examining Russia's interference in the US presidential elections, has actually requested an interview with 3 intelligence officers. And these are apparently the 3 intelligence officers that Trump called on to ask for their help in getting Jim Comey, the former director of the FBI, to back off the investigation of Michael Flynn. So you sort of think the timing wasn't that great, because it's all about Russia at the moment.
That's what made it potentially a good piece of satire, or whatever that was supposed to be.
But, you know, I don't know. There's a part of me that sort of thinks, you're in politics, you're a political leader, just act the part a little bit.
That's right, you're a bit of an idiot. And, you know, I think it's worth noting that Trump got in loads of trouble for impersonating a disabled journalist. Now Turnbull in trouble for impersonating the President of the United States.
It's always different when you're impersonating Trump. It's sort of, In fact, if you don't impersonate him, there's something wrong with you.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's why he was doing what he was doing. No, I can't do it. Yeah. I can't do it.
Let's leave the last word on this to Barnaby Joyce, who was more worried about Abbott before the event started, and maybe he's got some other use for that stock whip.
Behave yourself, Tony.
So the Australian government has agreed to pay a whopping $70 million to asylum seekers on Manus Island.
It's a sum that whops.
It does whop.
Yes.
And it's basically for the physical and mental harm that they have suffered as a result of the government's negligence. Apparently it's the largest human rights payout in Australia. And of course, as one would expect from one of our favourites, Peter Dutton, he's come out and blamed Labor.
Yeah, he's
all
crept
Labor's
out of
fault.
his drain. He's like, it's your fault!
It's all your fault.
Yeah.
So what he said in his press release, at least parts of it, is this. He says, Labor imposed this cost on Australians when it handed control of the nation's borders to criminal people smuggling syndicates, and it's Labor that has to come out and apologise to the Australian people for their failure at the border.
You've got to rate getting onto the front foot like that, though.
Talk about spin. I mean, this is a classic example of political spin and absolute bullshit, frankly.
Yeah, oh, 100%. You know, I also noticed that the statement said, this is not an admission of guilt. So I don't know what that is. Just a $70 million present. Look, we're not admitting anything, but here's $70 million for what may or may not have allegedly happened to you on fucking Hell Island. You know. In a way, Dutton is Dutton. He does kind of have this is my biggest gripe with the asylum seeker issue, is you do kind of have bipartisan support for this whole shitty mess. So, you know, he's not totally completely lying when he says this is partly Labor's fault, but on the other hand, you know, clearly a ridiculous statement.
Well, the case concerned asylum seekers on the island from 2012 to 2016. Most of those people would still be there.
Yeah.
And of course, the Liberals came into power in 2013.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of the time, not Dutton, but Morrison and he have been responsible for the detention centres, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just, what I thought is that, I mean, the press release is interesting for a number of reasons. It doesn't at all talk about what the case was about, at all. You know, it was about the mistreatment of asylum seekers. Doesn't talk about that. Not relevant.
Getting them to hospitals and,
not relevant.
kind of letting things devolve into riots.
That's right.
And,
none of that. Yeah. But, you know, and there's still a question, of course, about what's going to happen to the people on the island. If they're not taken by the US in the US swap deal.
How many people is this split among?
I think it's about 1,900.
Okay, right. So I'm thinking, you know, if I was there, because I heard one of the guys involved in the action said, this is the happiest day I've ever had since I've been here. And I'm like, fuck yeah, payday, dude. So what I would do is I would form a consortium. Then I'd start massively donating to the Liberal Party, right? Maybe snap up some property in Sydney.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Make a few down payments. Pretty soon you're going to have a visa and it's all hunky-dory.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. What a great idea.
Well, man, what the fuck are you going to do with $70 million on Manus Island?
I suppose that's right. Well, that's what I was thinking. What's going to happen to these people still? I mean, if they don't get taken in by the US, who knows what's going to happen to them? No one knows. Dutton hasn't got a solution, and yet he's still blaming Labor.
He's just a savage dingbat, really.
Think, you know, there were some interesting comments on Twitter about this. One tweet in particular stays in my mind, which was to this effect, that if you know, Dutton was a manager in a private corporation and was basically responsible for this sort of a payout, he would lose his job. But it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. I mean, he'll probably be promoted.
Yeah, and he's never been in that position because formerly he worked for the Queensland Police.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's true. But, you know, I just think they've got to give us a break, and I just think that he's got to grow up and take some responsibility. That's frankly how I feel about Peter Dutton.
Die waiting for that.
I will.
You'll feel like a refugee on Manus Island.
I probably will.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up on this, but there are some bigger questions about why it is that the government settled, and this is a point that is developed in quite a lot of detail by the filmmaker Eva Orner and our own guest panellist Stephen Glass in an opinion piece that was today published in The Age, which is this. And their point is that the reason that Dutton settled, or the government settled, is because they wanted to avoid a public hearing of all of the evidence that was going to be brought out and brought to light about what's been happening on the island, because that would have effectively been a royal commission, essentially, into the way in which these people are treated. So effectively this $70 million it's basically hush money, really. So just sort of sweep it under the carpet, pay them $70 million of our tax dollars, and let me be the king of the world. So you might remember earlier this year, we talked about, I don't know why I'm laughing about it, well, it's going to be obvious in a minute, Gwyneth Paltrow's website, Goop.
Yep.
Selling Jade Eggs for women to put in their vaginas so they can tone their pelvic floors and obtain major health benefits.
Oh, and also increase their mystical feminine energy.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We talked about that in a show earlier this year. Well, about a week ago, Goop.
I get that salt and pepper song in my head.
I know you do. I know you do.
Every time.
Well, Goop held its inaugural Health and Wellness Summit in LA. Where else would you hold something like that?
Yeah.
So apparently all 500 tickets were sold, and the cost ranged from like $500 to $1,000.
Oh, I think it was like more. 1,500. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What cracked me up was some of the commentary coming out of this was just so funny. So apparently you can, when you arrive, if you like, you can actually hook yourself up to an intravenous drip with saline. And or have an oxygen tank.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hook yourself up to one of those just so you can breathe fresh air.
Yeah.
People pay money for this shit.
In fairness,
seriously?
though, it is LA. You know, maybe you do need that.
Yeah, maybe you do.
Like a fresh air filter.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
But I don't really want to be hooked up to an IV drip unless I'm in hospital.
Yeah.
You know, to me, IV drip indicates something wrong.
Yeah.
Not that you're trying to, I don't know.
I would probably use a saline
yourself.
drip every morning if I had one.
Were you there? Were you at the conference?
No, I wasn't. I did read a bit about it. It's pretty amusing. Most of the journalists that wrote about it, I think, were like totally confused. But luckily, you can just look to Gwyneth and find out, she'll explain the whole thing for you in this handy clip of what Goop's all about.
One of the things we like to do on Goop is find kind of what the alternative world says about, like, feeling good in the modern day world. So earthing, I don't actually know that much about earthing, and it came out of me not knowing anything about earthing, but hearing about it. It's they say that we've lost touch with sort of being barefoot in the earth, and that there's some type of electromagnetic thing that we're missing. And
that is true.
It's good to take your shoes off and walk in the grass. Okay. I don't know what the we talk about.
So she doesn't know either.
She doesn't know.
That's like coming out and just saying, this is a massive rip-off and I'm having a huge laugh.
She doesn't give a shit.
She doesn't give a shit.
People are still coming. People are still buying the bloody Jade Eggs and all the rest of it.
The Jade Eggs are still selling. Actually, I've been thinking about this since the last time. It's actually, it seriously pops into my head like at least once a week.
Jade Eggs?
Yeah, I think I figured out why they sold out, because they seem insane. You talk to most women, they're like, I don't know about that, blah, 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 yet they sold out. I thought maybe in like the bleached, sandblasted, like, shiny, whiter, brighter world of Los Angeles, where I'm sure most of her punters come from, maybe most of them were gifts. Like those...
Oh, right. Like when you can't think of something to buy for someone.
Yeah.
Or someone who's got everything.
You got to think about those Orange County housewives. Like, here you go, bitch. You're going to put that.
I imagine
Here's a present for
there'd
you.
be a lot of those sort of people at this conference. But it's pretty hilarious because they had a series of panels of so-called experts, which just sounded totally bizarre. The final panel was a celebrity panel with her gal pals, Cameron Diaz and Miranda Kerr and... Nicole Richie, and someone else I can't remember.
Faded stars.
Yeah.
Her and Cameron Diaz, to me, are almost like totally interchangeable.
Yeah, right, okay.
I think they look similar.
Yeah, okay.
I attribute them to the same shitty movies and weird, airy-fairy, fucking kinesiology, new age lifestyle.
Well, and that's what's going on here. And it's very interesting that people are buying this wellness shit. And I just don't understand it. I mean, it's part of this whole big industry in wellness. It's all about, it's not about your physical health anymore. It's about your spiritual,
wellness.
Mental, physical.
How do you feel?
Yeah, it's all about how you feel.
Yeah.
And, at first I thought, and when we talked about the Jade Egg story, my feeling was, this is outrageous that a person with this sort of power, like Gwyneth Paltrow, would put herself behind these things.
Yeah.
But now I just think that if you're dumb enough to pay this sort of money, then suck shit. Like, I just think, sucked in. Like, you deserve to be duped because there's so much information out there for you to research whether or not a Jade Egg is good for you, especially when you've got gynecologists coming out and saying this isn't good for women.
Don't do this. Yeah. Look, I would love to play devil's advocate here, but I mostly agree with you. On the other hand, you know, maybe there are some benefits to these, you know, scented oxygens and little rocks that you can put on your boobs or whatever it is you do with them. Maybe it makes people feel better.
Well, maybe.
To part with huge slabs of cash that could probably feed small families.
Oh, well, look, I mean, I must say, I just think it's just, I'm just in shock. I'm in shock that these sort of people can make this sort of money by selling crap. I mean, one of the things they were saying, and we can wrap it up on this, was that frog venom prevents cancer. What the fuck is that? I mean, like, people believe this shit.
That's probably why all those like ancient Mayan tribes with the blow darts were mostly not afflicted with cancer.
And who would even know that?
Nobody would know that because I just fucking
made it
up.
Exactly.
And also,
that's the whole
they
thing.
were poison darts and they killed them.
So there you go.